Good morning. I am Reverend Jennifer Johnson. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the freshly installed lead minister of the First Parish in Concord. Welcome, one and all, to worship on this. Earlier, I was thinking I would say fine spring day. I'm going to say quintessential spring morning in Concord. First Parish is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and love lies at the center of our faith. We gather to grow spiritually and ethically together as we adapt to a changing world. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we embrace our differences and commonalities with love and goodwill. Welcome to all joining us both here in our historic sanctuary and also on Zoom. If you are visiting or new to the congregation and need assistance during the service, please see one of our ushers at the rear of the sanctuary. Assisted listening devices are available, as well as soul work, crafts, and coloring pages for all ages. During worship, the parlor downstairs serves as a wiggle room where young ones can play while their caregivers can enjoy the live streaming of the service on a large screen. Zoom participants are invited to stay online after the service for a time of conversation and fellowship. All present here in the meeting house are welcome to enjoy coffee hour in the parish hall downstairs. For those of you who would like an intimate space to reflect on today's worship themes, you're invited to the worship sharing circle, which begins at 11:15 in the Brooks Room. Yesterday was a big day in Concord, Installation Day. Thank you to everyone who contributed to its joy, beauty, and love. And a special shout out is due to the installation team who did an absolutely stellar job. It's Kristen Haddad, Cece King, and Ellen Whitney. For those who couldn't make it, a recording is now available on our First Parish in Concord YouTube channel. This morning, it's a very special honor for me to welcome our guest preacher, the Reverend Margalie Belazaire. Reverend Margalie is the settled minister of First Unitarian Church of Orlando, Florida, and she also happens to be my cherished friend, comrade, and kindred spirit. Her profoundly insightful and powerfully loving ministry helps to sustain me in my ministry. I am so excited that she is here to share her gifts with us this morning. Welcome once again. To gather in worship is a sacred act, and your presence among us is a blessing. We are glad and grateful that each one of you is here. Each Sunday, we mark the opening of our sacred hour of worship by kindling the flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, that it may be a beacon of truth, hope, justice, and love in our own hearts and the world. Please join in reciting our unison chalice lighting affirmation. We light this chalice, a spark in the darkness, kindling the embers of imagination within us. May its flame ignite wonder, fuel dreams of justice, and illuminate the path toward what could be. We are a people of imagination, and our imaginations invite us to shape our lives into stories, to understand who we are and who we aspire to be, to understand where we have been and where we aspire to go. We must consider our stories. We must be intimate with our stories. So come, let us open our hearts and minds to the stories we tell and retell. Come, let us worship. And we'll begin in song. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, Morning Has Broken. A couple of weeks ago, our wonderful Assistant Director of Religious Education, Dawn Van Patten, said a sentence to me. She repeated a sentence she shared to one of our volunteers who had just stepped in on a moment's notice to help out. She said, "This place runs on willingness." First Parish in Concord runs on willingness. The willingness of every single one of us. This morning, we want to take a moment to appreciate and celebrate the tremendous willingness of the members and friends of First Parish in Concord and all that your willingness makes possible within these walls and beyond them. I'm delighted to welcome Jan Power, Chair of the Congregational Life Committee, and Gib Metcalf, Chair of the Governing Board. They're going to help lead us in recognizing as many ways as we can think of that you express your willingness to deepen spiritually, build community, and make a positive difference in the world. So here's how it will work. Gib and Jan will take turns calling out some of the many ways you engage in making our spiritual community vibrant. When they name an action or a group that you've taken part in, please proudly raise your hand or type whatever word into the chat that comes to you. And we've structured it into themed parts. So raise your hand and leave it up until we switch to the next part. And know that it's okay, it's encouraged that you raise your hands many times, if that's appropriate and true. So here we go.
Okay. To take care of the building and grounds where we make our spiritual home by inspecting, troubleshooting, repairing, consulting, and contracting. shoveling, planting, weeding, cleaning up, and cleaning out, leading us to an environmentally sustainable and fully accessible campus.
Support a strong staff and healthy workplace by helping to interview, hire, and onboard our newest staff members, and supporting and advising our new minister in her first year on the Committee on Ministry and Governing Board.
Promote our financial health by playing a part in the annual pledge campaign as leaders, helpers, stewards, and testimonial givers, and stewarding parish donations and properties as a trustee.
Support our day-to-day operations and programs by staffing the front office, creating communications, and providing web and other tech support.
Uphold our free church traditions by leading, supporting, and taking part in the annual congregational meeting. Everyone should raise their hand here. Serving on the governing board, nominating committee, and any of the many chartered committees, task forces, and affinity groups that advance our mission, ministries, and values.
Nurture compassionate relationships by listening, caring, and companioning as a pastoral care associate or in a support group. Also giving rides, delivering meals, sending cards, making visits, stitching prayer shawls, and singing to the hospitalized and homebound.
Tend to the spiritual growth of our children and youth by teaching, mentoring, volunteering, playing and participating in RE, OWL, coming of age, youth programs, family events, and parent circles.
Build community within and beyond our walls by welcoming and orienting newcomers, planning, hosting, staffing, and attending potlucks, luncheons and teas, game nights, crafts and volunteer fairs, the Children's Craft Workshop, Ferry Beach, concerts, and speakers. It's almost everyone. Showing up to represent First Parish at events in the greater community, and planning visits with our partner congregation in Karastur, Transylvania, and hosting the Kolesvar Unitarian High School Choir.
Serve our larger Unitarian Universalist faith and values by participating in UUA programs, attending and serving as delegates at General Assembly, nominating community organizations for Share the Plate, and sharing the good news of our liberatory faith with neighbors, friends, and strangers.
Take action to build beloved community by phone banking, letter writing, postcard mailing, rallying, marching, advocating, educating, grant writing, and community organizing for democracy, environmental justice, racial justice, LGBTQIA rights, women's empowerment, accessibility justice, and immigrants' rights. Providing temporary shelter, care, and resources to migrant and refugee families. And celebrating diversity, encouraging radical hospitality, and fostering right relations with a diversity team, welcoming walls, covenant integration, and difficult conversations.
Nurture spirituality by leading and participating in small groups, retreats, sharing circles, group spiritual practices, and affinity groups, and singing from your heart and soul with our choirs and ensemble.
And finally, co-creating worship by ushering, Zoom hosting, making music, praying, reading, singing, flower arranging, sharing your wisdom and stories, and listening, and choosing to bless this community with your presence in the sanctuary and on Zoom on Sunday morning. That should be all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gib and Jan, and thank you, everyone, for raising your hands. It really moves me. It really moves me to hear that litany and to see all the hands being raised. Dawn's sentence moved me in part because it reminds me of another sentence that I've shared with you a few times, a definition of love that comes to us via Bell Hooks in her book All About Love, but from M. Scott Peck. Love is the will to extend oneself to nurture one's own or another's spiritual group. Your willingness in all the ways we expressed and more is an expression of love. It's your willingness to extend yourself to nurture the growth of this community and everyone who takes part in it. Thank you for your willingness. Thank you for your love. Let's see those hands again. The blessed hands that perform this sacred work of nurturing and growing this spiritual community and all who take part in it. By my count, that's everyone. So let's see everyone's hands. This is what community looks like. This is what willingness looks like. It's what love looks like. Thank you.
So, as you may know, religious education has already begun. Our Middle OWL program has its final session today in the chapel. And so if you see Anderson or Heather, please thank them for being our fabulous co-facilitators of that program. Little RE is back in session down in the Milldam Nursery School. So if you have preschoolers, you're welcome to bring them down there. And today, kindergarten through 5th grade will be thinking outside the box with Jean Rothman and myself up in the Emerson Room, a true practice of imagination, which is our theme. And if you all would join in song, and those kindergarten through 5th graders, please join us going up to the Emerson Room.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Paul Langston Daly, your Minister for Social Action here at First Parish. And I had the great joy of being here yesterday for the installation. And Bill Schultz reminded us yesterday, in his charge to the congregation, that we are a free and independent organization. We are self-supporting and self-sustaining. We are not dependent on an outside source and therefore not beholden to anyone, not king, not president, not dictator. We are beholden to the members of this congregation. We're able to make a difference in this community because of those who came before us, who were committed to this faith. Your commitment and contributions sustain us now. And each month, we share this generosity with an organization nominated by members of this community. This month, we support Dee Dee's Cry. Dee Dee's Cry is an organization based out of the UU Urban Ministry in Roxbury. Their mission is to provide resources on suicide prevention, to support families, members in the aftermath of suicide, and to offer mental health education. Their aim is to create a space where conversations begin to lift the stigma of suicide and mental health within the Black, Indigenous, and communities of color. In collaboration with other organizations and agencies, they create events, facilitate groups, and provide support to suicide loss survivors for family and friends. We invite you this morning to give generously to this month's collection that we share with Dee Dee's Cry, for all that we do to care for those within these walls and beyond these walls. We are grateful for your gifts this morning.
I guess I was a little premature in coming up. But here's a story for you. Long before Dorothy arrived in Oz, before the yellow brick road became a symbol of hope and adventure, there was Elphaba, the green-skinned girl who would become the Wicked Witch of the West. Her story begins in Munchkinland, where her birth is met with fear and revulsion. Elphaba's green skin immediately marks her as different, an omen of something unnatural. From the moment she enters the world, the stories about her begin, stories that will shape her destiny. Elphaba's childhood is lonely and difficult. Her green skin makes her an object of scorn, and her sharp intelligence sets her apart even further. Her parents' inability to understand or fully accept her adds to her isolation. Her younger sister, Nessa Rose, becomes the family's favorite, leaving Elphaba in the shadows. Yet, even in her solitude, she shows signs of a fierce and independent spirit, questioning the world around her and its injustices. At university, her world expands. She meets Glenda, soon to be Glenda, a popular, self-absorbed young woman who becomes her unlikely roommate. Their initial relationship is fraught with tension and misunderstanding. Galenda's privilege and vanity clash with Elphaba's fierce intellect and disdain for superficiality. Yet, over time, they form a bond that changes them both. Elphaba's kindness and intelligence challenge Glenda to see beyond her own narrow world, while Galenda's charm and optimism soften some of Elphaba's rough edges. While in college, she also discovers her passion for justice. She's mentored by Dr. Dillamont, a sentient goat and professor who faces discrimination as the wizard's regime begins to strip animals of their rights. She develops other relationships, and also they are complex, full of love, heartbreak, and betrayal, but they shape her into the fierce advocate for justice she's destined to become. When her mentor is removed from his position and later murdered, she is devastated. She eventually travels to Emerald City to meet the Wizard of Oz, who she considered a benevolent ruler. Instead, she learns that he is a tyrant. Her meeting with the wizard is a turning point. She learns that he's a fraud, a man who uses lies and propaganda to maintain control. When he offers her a place at his side, she refuses, choosing instead to resist this regime. Elphaba's resistance comes at a cost, as do these things. Branded a traitor and an enemy of the state, she becomes the subject of vicious rumors and propaganda. The wizard's regime paints her as a wicked witch, a danger to the people of Oz. She retreats to a remote castle in the west, where she continues her fight in secret. Despite her pain and isolation, Elphaba refuses to give up and continues to work for justice. Yet, the stories about her only grow darker. By the time Dorothy arrives in Oz, she is firmly entrenched in the public's imagination as a villain. The story of the Wicked Witch of the West has been written, leaving no room for the truth of who she is.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Ide. My pronouns are she, her, and I am your acting minister of congregational care. This is the time we set aside each week to share the stories that need to be told. creating a space to rest our heaviest burdens and to honor the glow of our brightest joys. And so I invite us all to take a moment and just notice what it's like to be in this space. Maybe take a deep breath. And another. This week we hold in love William Reed, father of Eric Reed, father-in-law to Phyllis Savage, grandfather to Jonathan and Christopher. William passed away on May 15th at the age of 97, with his family at his bedside. Bill made Concord his home for over 60 years and was a longtime member of Tricon, and more recently of West Concord Union Church. May Bill's memory be a blessing, and may all who knew and cared for him find comfort in their mourning. And now our space is open for those joys and sorrows, precious milestones that have touched each of our lives this morning. I invite each and all of you to share the names and sacred concerns that you carried with you today, either by typing them into the chat or saying them aloud into the space that surrounds you. Let us hold silence for all that has been shared. Let us pray. When we pause to remember who we are, companions on this grand experiment called life, when we take a moment to shed the ways we have been carefully taught, to lead from fear, to punish the poor, to persecute those who don't look like we do, to deny rights to those who love, to believe that we are separate and that some people are superior to others. When we take a moment to shed all of that and hear our stories, hear and see each other into existence, into community, when we take a moment to embrace and practice a different way of being, when we answer the call of love, then we are living into the promise of building the world we dream about. It is beautiful to dream, to cast a vision, to stretch our minds into the future and imagine what may be if we were to build a new way of being. Not someday, but beginning again today. Beginning again every day that we have breath, taking courage with these hands and hearts to make real the dream of a more equitable world. To journey together, seeking to be transformed even as we transform. Becoming explorers and learners in this world around us, humbled by what we do not yet know. Fulfilling the promise of healing a fragmented world. Laboring, not just in hope, but also in love. In this spirit, we commit. In this spirit, we gather. And in this spirit, we pray. Amen.
So, this is how to create a single story. Show a people as one thing, and only one thing, over and over again, and that is what they become. It is impossible to talk about the single story without talking about power. Power is the ability not just to tell the story of another person, but to make it the definitive story of that person. The Palestinian poet Mourid Barghouti writes, "If you want to dispossess a people, the simplest way to do it is to tell their story and start with, secondly. Start the story with the arrows of the Native Americans and not the arrival of the British, and you have an entirely different story. Start the story of the failure of the African state and not with the colonial creation of the African state, you have an entirely different story." Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Today, I invite us to explore a story about stories. It is the story of Wicked by Gregory Maguire, which I shared the gist of with you earlier, a retelling of a familiar tale that invites us to ask, who gets to tell the story of who we are? And what happens when the stories told about us are not true? So basically, as you heard, Elphaba, born with green skin, is labeled from birth as different, wrong, wicked. Despite her brilliance, compassion, and fierce sense of justice, the world around her insists that she is evil. As the story unfolds, we see how the narrative of the Wicked Witch of the West is constructed, not by Elphaba herself, but by those in power. The wizard, the ruling regime, and even well-meaning friends like Glinda participate in shaping this story. Well, in Oz, as in our world, the stories told about us often become what defines us, whether they are true or not. Wicked is a profound meditation on this truth. But it is not only a fairy tale and version, it is a mirror reflecting the dynamics of our own society where dominant narratives label, diminish, and erase the complexity of marginalized people. Thomas King, in his powerful book, The Truth About Stories, a Native's Narrative, teaches us that stories are not passive things. The truth about story is that that's all we are, he says. Our identities, our cultures, our histories, all are shaped by the stories we tell and the stories we believe. King reminds us that stories can oppress or liberate. They can perpetuate stereotypes or dismantle them. Those in power have long used stories to maintain control. Stories that erase indigenous voices, stories that define Black people as dangerous, LGBTQ+ folk as deviant, immigrants as threats, women as less than, and poor people as lazy. We can see in Elphaba's story an allegory of these dynamics. From the moment she's born, her green skin becomes a symbol of otherness. The society of Oz projects its fears, prejudices onto her, much as our own society projects harmful stereotypes onto Black people, LGBTQ+ people, other marginalized communities. The stories about Elphaba do not emerge from who she truly is. Rather, they emerge from the fears and insecurities of those who wish to maintain power. And this is how dominant narratives function. They are tools of control. They reduce complex human beings into caricatures. This is the way of justifying injustice. We see this dynamic in the way Black people have been portrayed throughout history as dangerous, as inferior, as criminal. These stories were not born from truth because, truth be told, Black people have been the ones in danger. These stories, that is, were born from the need to justify slavery, segregation, and today, mass incarceration. The so-called science of racial inferiority, the caricatures of Blackness in media, the myth of Black community, these are stories wielded as weapons. Similarly, LGBTQ+ folks have been labeled as unnatural, sinful, or mentally ill. These stories serve to justify discrimination, violence, and erasure. Transgender people in particular are today the targets of an aggressive campaign of dehumanizing stories that portrayed them as threats rather than as beloved children of the universe. Thomas King teaches us that once we have heard a story, it is ours. We have a responsibility. Will we repeat the stories of oppression, or will we challenge them with counter stories of truth, dignity, and liberation? As people of faith, we have a duty to do so. This is what Unitarian Universalism calls us to do. Ours is a faith rooted in the inherent worth of every person. We affirm justice, equity, and compassion in our engagements with others. And we understand that the stories we tell about ourselves and about each other matter profoundly. Like Alphaba, marginalized people often find their lives defined by stories they did not choose. And like Alphaba, they are often denied the opportunity to tell their own stories. But storytelling can also be an act of resistance. Every time a Black artist tells the fullness of Black humanity, every time an LGBTQ+ person shares their truth, every time an Indigenous elder passes an ancestral wisdom, they are reclaiming the narrative. They are saying, this is who we are, not who you say we are. Wicked invites us to see how easy it is to believe the official story. Dorothy, after all, never questions why the Wicked Witch of the West is wicked. The people of Oz accept the wicked's narrative without examination. And yet, when we look closely, we see the machinery of propaganda, the way fear is stocked, the way dissent is silenced. Thomas King reminds us to be mindful of whose stories we are listening to. He contrasts his indigenous creation stories, which emphasize interconnectedness and balance, with Western narratives of domination and hierarchy. This contrast reveals how deeply embedded the structures of power is in the stories we inherit. In Wicked, we see this same contrast. The wizard's version of Oz is built on control, fear, and erasure. Alphaba's vision, though imperfect, is rooted in justice and questioning and challenging the status quo. Her story is a counter-narrative, one that seeks to reveal the truth behind the lies. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to be story listeners and storytellers. We are called to question the official narratives, to seek out the silenced voices, and to amplify the truth that have been hidden. This is not just a moral imperative, it is a spiritual practice. When we listen deeply to the stories of Black people, of LGBTQ plus folks, and of indigenous communities, we are practicing our faith. We are affirming the worth and dignity of everyone. We are embodying justice, equity, and compassion. But we must also examine the stories we tell about ourselves. How often do we, even unconsciously, repeat the narratives of supremacy, of individualism, of disconnection? How often do we believe the stories of scarcity, of us versus them? Thomas King reminds us that stories are living things. They are not inert. They shape our beliefs, our relationships, our society. Stories are wondrous things, he writes, and they are dangerous. The danger lies in their power to define reality, but the wonder lies in their power to imagine new realities. When we tell stories of liberation, of resiliency, of shared humanity, we're not just imagining a better world, we are practicing in its creation. Elphaba's story, though tragic, is not without hope. Her life is a testament of the courage of living one's truth in the face of overwhelming falsehood. She shows us that to resist the stories told about us is itself an act of defiant love. And so I invite you to reflect. What stories are being told about you? Which of these stories are true and which are lies? More importantly, what stories are you telling about others? And are they stories of reduction and stereotype? Or are they stories of complexity, of shared humanity, of sacred worth? As a faith community, you must commit yourselves to being tellers of liberating stories. Stories that honor the full humanity of all people, of Black people. Stories that celebrate the diversity and beauty of LGBTQ plus people. Stories that uplift indigenous wisdom and resiliency. Let us remember that the stories we tell today will shape the world of tomorrow. In the end, as Thomas King teaches us, the truth about stories is that that's all we are. May we tell the stories of truth. May we tell stories of justice. May we tell stories of love. May we be so blessed. And now, if you would join me in body or spirit in singing our closing hymn, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. May May the stories we tell name the largest truth of what was, of what is, and pull us forward to what should be, as stories are always meant to be. Reverend Vanessa Southern.
Now please rise to share in giving and receiving our traditional benediction as we extinguish the chalice. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Please be seated to enjoy the postlude